Welcome everyone, and welcome to Forward Operating Base Lake Fork, or I like to call it FOB Lake Fork. You guys in the military out there, you'll know what I mean, a Forward Operating Base and a FOB. That's what it stands for. For you, for the non-military out there, that's what it means. But this is my FOB. I'm at FOB Lake Fork, so I'm forward deployed in my bass fishing here, and I'm really enjoying the time out here. So I'm getting into my weekly report. I did a bunch of different kinds of fishing this week, and I did some daytime fishing. I did some night fishing. I even had some people staying out in my Airbnb, which, by the way, it's Airbnb and it's Lake Fork Hideaway. If you go to my website, which I said before, there's a link to that. You can look to see. Look, we're booking up real fast. I mean, June, July, August is already booking up. So please book early. But get back into the fishing report. Look, I started out this week in kind of not really the same as last week, but a little bit. I'm starting on the points, out on the clay, throwing topwater baits and lipless crankbaits. And I'll show you exactly what I'm showing. But again, I'm not going to mention brand names because I'm not a sponsor for them. I'm throwing walking dog baits. You guys know probably what that is. Now it's important. I'm throwing the 4-inch. I'm not throwing the larger one. I'm throwing the smaller one. I seem to be getting more bites on it. I'm throwing lipless crankbaits either in a shad pattern, or I've got another brand that I throw in the barfish pattern. And I work that pattern until really the sun kind of gets too much onto that point. Now, I will tell you, if you pay attention out there, not all points are the same, and you can get the morning time fishing can last a lot longer than you think if you go find some points that are in the shade. So if you get some points that are in the shade, your bite's going to just last a little bit longer there, because the bait fish aren't going to get chased out of there by the sun, and you'll get a little bit more topwater, a little bit shallower bite. So look, if I'm not getting bit right away on that shallow bite, I kind of fish the shallow area. If that doesn't work, I'm kind of use my electronics to look around. I'm pulling my boat up onto the point itself. Now I'm turning around and I'm throwing back out in the deeper water. So 4 to 8 feet deep for that type of fishing has been working out. So if I cast out there as far as I can. I reel in, but I went back and looked where I was catching the fish. It was in the 4 to 8 foot range of where I was catching most of those fish. So I'll fish that point as long as I can, pretty much with those baits. I'll throw in square bill crankbait in the same mix, but I haven't been doing it as much. I'm pretty much throwing the lipless and the topwater and a swim jig, so a white swim jig, which I don't have out right now. Then, as you guys have been watching my Instagram during the week, you will know I had developed this bluegill bed pattern that I was using. I would move then in toward these bluegill bed areas. I was fishing the point. They had bluegill beds pretty close to them. I'd go there. Now I'm getting in those bluegill beds, and I'm throwing a couple baits, really, just two. I'm throwing a big fat Senko, oversized, 6-inch size, heavyweight, in the greenish. You can see it. I'll let you show it again. I'm not mentioning the names. And I'm throwing a bluegill colored jig in a 3/8 ounce. And I'm basically, the 3/8 ounce jig, I'm popping it through there. I'm not crawling it on the bottom. It's a swim jig. And I'm hopping it and swimming it through. Almost every single one of the bites came when I was hopping it or swimming it, and they would hammer it right as I started reeling in. And some of them, when I was starting to just reel the lure back into the boat, that's when they would hit it. The Senko bite, it can be very soft. Matter of fact, I had a client, he threw it out there, and I saw him tense up like he was going to catch a fish. And then he relaxed, and he kind of went back to kind of moving it. And I saw a 3.5 pound, close to 4 pound bass swimming out of the shallows there. The bass swam right by our boat. I said, hey, don't move, maybe it'll come back. Swam right by the boat, went off into the deeper water. And next thing you know, about 10 seconds later, I see him reel his line and get to set the hook. He sets his hook, and the line just peels around the boat, goes all the way back behind the boat, and guess what? That fish that swam out had that Senko in his mouth. It held on to it for 30 seconds. Now, we caught that fish, but what a crazy catch. And I had a 5 pound bass in those shallows follow out the walking bait. Now, he didn't hit it. He followed it to 10 feet from the boat. He just curled up underneath of it, but never hit it. Pretty frustrating when that happens. Then he kind of saw the boat, and he swam off, and we didn't get a chance to do it. But once I finished that bite, remember, pay attention to the shade. There's some places where even when you're doing that bluegill bed pattern, you're in those shaded areas, it's going to last longer, and you can continue to catch those fish in the shade. We watched the fish. My client was kind of learned how the fact that we actually saw the fish. There was only like a 2-foot shaded spot along this retaining wall, and the fish were in that 2-foot area in the shade there. We could see them run into it. You'd flip over to it, and they would hit it almost immediately. So after that, I finished the bluegill. Then I'm pulling out, and a lot of guys, are going out fishing these points. But I have not been still fishing the points very much. I've been exploring and looking around. I have some offshore trees that I targeted. And I've got some areas where there's some trees and 20 feet of water. And I'll go in and throw these baits through it and work it through the trees. And what we're doing is we're catching post-spawn fish. How do I know? Well, their tails are still bloody. The 4 and 5 pound class, and their tails are bloody. They're in those trees. They're recuperating for the spawn. They're probably going to live there they're probably going to live there until next spring. They'll stay in those big trees. But what am I fishing out there? I'm fishing the 8-inch worm with a curly tail. By the way, let me go back. I'm throwing this near the bluegill beds also, but I'll get to the point that I don't really think the bluegill bites happen anymore. But the 8-inch with a curly tail is kind of reddish, maroon colors. I'm throwing a big 10-inch worm. You guys will probably know the brand, but it's reddish blue flake in it. And I'm throwing the big jigs. So look, I'm continuing to throw the bluegill kind of pointed nose jig into the trees. If I get off the trees a little bit, then I'm throwing the big 3/4 ounce to 1 ounce football head jig and dragging on the bottom. But most of my targeting for the deep water has been in these tree structures, and we've been fairly successful at it. So that's pretty much what I've been doing for the week. I did some night fishing. A lot of fish around the nights. I mean, a lot of fish around these lights at night. Now, remember I told you that these bait fish are getting bigger. They're becoming forage. I caught some bass after the follow-up from a guide trip that I had at nighttime, and I caught a 4-pounder. I got in the boat. It's regurgitating all these little shad. They're like 1 inch long. So this big bass is down there just gorging on these tiny little shad, and just coughing up my boat. I had to clean my boat up afterwards for that. So, look. I told you also I did a little different shit. I did a crappie fishing this week. I had guests staying at my Airbnb. I'll just tell you real quick. We caught a slew of crappie. You use your electronics to find these spots. I just threw one that was basically a gray with a white tail and gray with a black tail. They're in isolated trees again. Use your electronics. Your electronics are your friend. And I mean, just go by saying that most of the places, like today, I had a trip this morning. We went down looking through some point areas. I saw some independent trees out there. We pulled up onto them. We caught fish, pretty quickly off those trees. They're not pressured that much. You got to the points, there's a lot of lures being thrown out there. So you're still going to catch some fish. Those are home spots. They're going to come in there. But if you spend the time to find some of these isolated trees and areas that hold fish, you'll have a spot that basically isn't as pressured as much, and you might have a more repetitive catch going on there. So realistically, that's all I've been doing for the week. What am I going to do this next week? I am going to probably do some more offshore fishing, and I'm probably going to be rigging up a big, heavy drop shot rig that I can keep this big 10-inch worm about 6 inches to not even a foot off the bottom. And I'm going to crawl that thing with the weight on the bottom so that big worm is just tracking. That big worm is just tracking out behind it, kind of like in a big drop shot. But I'm not a big fan of like the tiny drop shotting. Can you catch some fish? Yes, but if you hook into that big fish, I mean, hopefully you get it up. Hopefully you're able to get that kind of big fish. I'm trying to catch this big 10-pound bass out here, so I need to have just a little bigger gear, I think. So that's it for the week. Thank you very much for watching. Forward Operating Base Lake Fork. Remember, www.foblakefork.com. My Airbnb is Lake Fork Hideaway. I got 4.5 acres. I'm looking at it right now. I got 4.5 acres on a main lake. It's beautiful out here. The birds are chirping. It's a great time to come stay out for the summer. If you're looking for a summer vacation to get away for 3, 4 days, 5 days, bring your family out, do some fishing. Please don't hesitate to go to Airbnb and look at my site. I'm booking it real fast. June's almost booked up all the way. July's already booking a lot, and August is already booking up. So please take the time to go to Airbnb and check it out. If you're looking for a guided fishing trip, send me a message. Go to my Instagram page. Look, I post every day, twice a day on Instagram for the most part. If you want up-to-date updates on what's going on in the water, go to my Instagram page and like my Instagram page so you're getting updates, or you can go to my Twitter. I not really do Twitter as much because, matter of fact, you're looking at somebody that's only been on social media for like maybe 6 weeks or 7 weeks. Daughter's helping me out, trying to get it ready. I'm learning as fast as I can, so be a little patient with me. But I'm trying to do the best I can. Keep giving you content, give you something you're gonna to like to watch, and give you some information, has some value to you. So, from Forward Operating Base Lake Fork, and a beautiful lake here and on the water. You guys have a great day, and come out and remember our motto is leave no fish behind. So take care.